Thank you everyone for joining us at Steel Stacks in Bethlehem this morning for this event with Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf, hosted by the Lehigh Valley Partnership and the Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation. I want to also thank ArtsQuest and Cassie Hilgert for making this great room available to us on such a beautiful morning. I want to quickly recognize some of the elected officials that we have in the room today before I get started with our program. I think I saw Lehigh County Exec Tom Mueller in the room. Welcome to County Exec Mueller. I saw and spoke with County Executive John Brown in Northampton County earlier today. I see District Attorney John Morganelli here from Northampton County as well. Northampton County Councilperson Vaughn is here, I believe. I saw him earlier. There we go. Thank you for coming. I think, did I see Councilperson McClure here? There we go in the back. Thank you. Welcome for coming. Thanks for coming. And did Mayor Plowski make it today? I think he is planning to be here. He may not. He's on the way. Traffic. Sure. Very good. And then Mayor of Whitehall, Ed Hose, is here today as well. And finally, our city host today, Mayor of Bethlehem, Bob Dunchez, I'd like to welcome to the stage to say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. I am honored to officially welcome Governor Wolf to the city of Bethlehem. Roughly 1 year ago, as Governor Wolf began his journey to Harrisburg, he visited Bethlehem twice and spent time with many of our business owners and residents. Governor Wolf truly understands the great strides that this city has made to recover from the loss of Bethlehem Steel, and he also is sympathetic to the challenges that we face moving forward to compete in Pennsylvania, the United States, and the global economy. Governor Wolf brings a fresh perspective to Harrisburg, understanding that our state must make economic development a priority for investing in the future. Again, Governor, welcome to the city of Bethlehem. I hope this is the first of many visits, and I would like to introduce Greg Boots from the Lehigh Valley Partnership.
Good morning. I'm representing the Executive Committee today of the Lehigh Valley Partnership. It's an honor to be here today to host Governor Tom Wolf as he shares details about his economic and community development agenda before it's released as a part of his budget address on March 3rd. I'd like to thank everyone from the Lehigh Valley business community for coming out to this important event. The fact that Governor Wolf has asked to meet with a select group of business and economic development leaders from our region is a reflection on the amazing economic strides the Lehigh Valley has made in recent years. We've seen the creation and retention of hundreds of jobs. That has been facilitated by a partnership of businesses in the region, collaborating with county and municipal economic development entities, working seamlessly toward a common goal of growing our economy. Through our collaborative efforts, the Lehigh Valley has been recognized by Site Selection magazine as the second best performing region for economic development in the United States for metropolitan areas of our size. The Lehigh Valley has ranked in the top 10 for 6 consecutive years, which is no small feat. Governor Wolf has recognized the economic strength of our region, and we are truly honored that he has come here today to discuss his economic and community development agenda. Economic success stories like ours don't happen by accident. They are the result of a regional approach to economic development. A regional approach depends on a strong and prosperous partnership between the Commonwealth and organizations like Lehigh Valley Partnership and LVEDC. We look forward to working with Governor Wolf and Pennsylvania Department of Economic, Community and Economic Development on our shared goal of creating a dynamic and growing economy that offers opportunities to the citizens of Pennsylvania. And now I'd like to introduce Tom Garrity, Chairman of the Board of the Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation.
Good morning. Thank you, Greg, and thank you, each of you, for taking the time to be here this morning. Unfortunately, LVEDC President and CEO Don Cunningham is not able to be with us today. He is literally executing on the mission of the organization, marketing the Lehigh Valley's economic assets at the Site Selectors Guild Conference. I won't bore you about where that's at, but I promise you he is not seeing his breath when he walks outdoors. I'd like to briefly acknowledge the members of the LVEDC board, many of whom are here today. If you would, please stand to be recognized. Thank you. I'd like to echo Greg's comments, his remarks as well, on the extraordinary economic development of the Lehigh Valley that we've experienced in recent years. We've seen the birth of an entirely new downtown Allentown, with $500 million of new public and private investment being pumped into our largest city. We've seen the announcement of major businesses with national profiles establishing bases of operation here in the Lehigh Valley, such as Zulily, Walmart, and Fuling Plastic. By the way, Fuling will become the region's first Chinese-owned manufacturer. That's pretty neat. As we look ahead, the future looks equally bright as the groundwork is being laid for industrial and commercial development off the new Route 33 interchange in Northampton County, as well as the potential for hundreds of millions of dollars in new investment in Bethlehem through the establishment of the City Revitalization and Improvement Zone, known as CRIZ. And it's not just bringing new businesses to the region and helping our existing business community thrive. The Lehigh Valley's entrepreneurial and startup communities are among the most vibrant in the nation, with Ben Franklin Technology Partners and Lehigh University leading the way. Through the course of this campaign, Governor Wolf made very clear his commitment to a strategic focus on making Pennsylvania an engine of economic development and a magnet for private sector entrepreneurs who will create good, high-paying jobs and grow the state's middle class. We stand fully behind our new governor and his mission to establish Pennsylvania as the nation's keystone for economic development. With his emphasis on creating jobs, strengthening the middle class, expanding private sector growth, revitalizing our communities, improving our technology sector, and supporting workforce development, it's clear to us that under our new governor's leadership, Pennsylvania's best days are ahead of us. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf.
That's a really nice introduction, Tom. Thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. Let me just point out, I know a lot of introductions have been made, but Dennis Davin, who is my secretary of the Department of Community and Economic Development. Dennis, I'm going to just stand up. I also want to point out that I do have a long background in the private sector. This is my first foray into public office, and I really built a business for most of my adult life. And then in 2006 sold the business, and in 2009 came back to the business, and it was on the verge of bankruptcy, building products. We actually had some facilities here in the Lehigh Valley. We still do, and I say we, I actually retired in 2013. But this has been a great place to do business. Came back in 2009, turned the business around, and succeeded so that I could actually do this, run for governor, and I succeeded. But I think it's important that I am a lifelong, unapologetic Democrat, but I've spent my life in the business community, actually building a business. I think I mentioned at one point I was the only PhD forklift operator in York County at the time I came back to York County. But I did spend my time building a business. I spent much of my adult life focused on trying to revitalize the city of York. So I really have a great appreciation for what's going on here in the Lehigh Valley. You're not only producing economic development, but you're doing it in a way that is revitalizing this community. And that's really important, not just for the Lehigh Valley, but it's really important for Pennsylvania. We need to find a way to do that across the state. And because we can't afford to have places like York, or Bethlehem, or Allentown, or Easton, or any city in Pennsylvania lag behind in the race to be as great as they can be. So I think what you're doing here is remarkable and amazing, and this makes this a perfect place for me to try to blend those two things: how we can revitalize communities, make better lives in Pennsylvania, and do that all through revitalizing our economy. Our best days have to be ahead of us. And they have to be ahead of us because we are going to be a magnet for economic growth, for entrepreneurs who want to come here and create good jobs. That's what I want for Pennsylvania, and I want to do that fairly, but I want to do it really effectively. So that's why I'm here. I'm giving my budget address a week from Tuesday, on the 3rd of March, next Tuesday, and I plan to bring out a lot of different ideas as to what I think we ought to do in this first year in my office, to make Pennsylvania better. But I want to give you some advance notice of what I want to do in the economic development area, because I think it's really important. And I think I'm going to do some things that are very, very different for the first time in a long time. And I hope that you appreciate and approve of what I'm going to propose. So my background in business, I think, informs me in terms of what we ought to do to make Pennsylvania the kind of place that is attractive for people who want to build businesses here. And I think I know whereof I speak because I've actually done that. And I know that Pennsylvania has a jobs deficit. We have a lot of things that we have to work on, and I talked in my inaugural address, about creating a commonwealth where we have schools that teach, jobs that pay, and government that works. But I want to talk today about actually it was the first thing, the jobs that pay. We do have a jobs deficit here, and we need to do something about that. Too many Pennsylvanians, too many of our fellow citizens are struggling to make ends meet, and too many of our best and brightest are leaving Pennsylvania for other places. I said in my inaugural address that I don't want to be a part of the first generation of Pennsylvanians, really, to tell their kids they have to go somewhere else to succeed. I have 2 daughters, both very bright young women, 33 and 31. One's an architect, one is a geologist. Neither of them lives in Pennsylvania. We need to change that. Personally, I want to change that. But I think we need to change that as a commonwealth. And we have work to do. Last year, the state saw some modest job growth, but it was under 1% at a time when our economy was coming back, actually 0.7%. And we're at the bottom of the country in terms of the states with job growth. And I understand states have to go in the band of the ups and downs of the macro economy and the global economy. But we can do things to make sure that we're at the top of that band, wherever we are in the cycle. Right now, we're at the bottom of that band, and we shouldn't be, especially in job growth. We have to make new investments in 21st century manufacturing and refocus our economic development dollars and our strategies. I know manufacturing is something that people talk about, sort of pine for the past and say that's not going to come back. I've actually rebuilt my business on the basis of American manufacturing, and not just high-tech, advanced manufacturing, staying ahead of the curve. For crying out loud, I make kitchen cabinets. My company sells decking and railing, not high-tech stuff, and we compete with overseas manufacturers very well, with American workers. We can do that. We can do that in this country. We can do that manufacturing in Pennsylvania. For too long, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania hasn't been a place where businesses feel they can come and grow. They don't feel that they can come here and invest. Country-leading high corporate tax rates have not been helpful. I mean, I know we have a lot of ways you can avoid paying that 9.99% rate, but there's a sticker shock. And too many people look at that and say, I'm not coming to Pennsylvania. Your tax rates are too high. So the Commonwealth isn't going to create jobs. The Commonwealth isn't going to actually provide the jobs, but the Commonwealth can set the table for robust economic growth, and that's what I want to do. We need to strengthen the middle class. We need to strengthen communities like this, and the Commonwealth can play a role, a constructive role in helping the private sector do these things. In order to create jobs that pay and an economy that actually works, we must acknowledge that success will require investment in our companies and our people. We have to recognize the importance of the private sector. And today I'm announcing that my budget will contain significant reforms aimed at 3 goals for economic development that will create good, paying jobs, middle-class jobs, family-sustaining jobs, and building a pro-growth business climate for Pennsylvania. That's right, I'm a Democrat, and I'm saying this. I want to grow Pennsylvania's manufacturing sector, and I want to create workforce partnerships that actually make sure that we have skills that the business community needs to actually develop. So anyway, what are we going to do? Let me start with how we believe we can create a very competitive climate to attract and retain jobs in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's economic prosperity has long been hobbled by an outdated tax structure that fails to incentivize job growth. Am I saying anything that's new to anybody here? No, I don't think so. My sweeping tax relief package achieves economic growth and improves the fairness of the Commonwealth's tax structure in a number of ways. First, I'm going to propose, this is a democracy, I'm going to propose reducing the corporate net income tax rate within 2 years, flipping Pennsylvania from one of the highest, I think maybe the highest corporate net income tax charger in the country to one of the lowest. I want to go from our incredibly obscene 9.99%, that's right, 9.99% is the corporate net income tax rate, to 4.99% within 2 years. Now, no one has done that before. We've talked about that. Different administrations have talked about that, but I want to do that. I want to go to 5.99% very first year. The second year, actually my first budget, the first full year, January of 2017, take that to 5.49, and in January of 2018, take that to 4.99%. That is a 50%, that's right, I said 50% reduction in the nominal corporate net income tax rate in Pennsylvania. That's the first thing I want to do. Now, that would make us, again, one of the lowest, the states that charge a corporate net income tax. There are currently only 6 states in the country without a corporate net income tax, but 3 of those states, including Texas, actually charge a business tax called the gross receipts tax. So really, there are only 3 states in the whole country without a corporate tax at all. We would be one of the lowest in the country. That's something that I've been working on, and hell, I was expecting a standing ovation. Anyway. Second thing we have to do, we have been talking since the Ridge administration about eliminating, again, I paid this tax, so I know that it's wrong, the capital stock and franchise tax, right? And we've been talking about phasing that out since the Ridge administration. And every so often we go into a recession and someone says, well, let's just sort of delay phasing that out, right? Okay, enough stopping the phase out. It's scheduled to be phased out January 1st, 2016, in less than a year. I want to do that on schedule. How's that? Now, one of the things that I was on the Business Tax Reform Commission in the early part of the aughts, and one of the things that we talked about was, in terms of reducing the obscenely high rates, wanted to make sure that we broaden the base. And we need to go to combined reporting to do that, and so I'm going to propose that as well. Overall, this is a big drop in corporate net income tax. It's a drop in corporate taxes, even with the combined reporting, which was one of the big loopholes that was used to circumvent the tax. All those things together, this should be a signal that we are open for business in Pennsylvania. Hope you like that. Second, building Pennsylvania's manufacturing sector. Again, this is something that seems like a pipe dream. Politicians talk about this, and they really don't know what they're talking about. I actually have built a manufacturing business, and we're headquartered in York, Pennsylvania, and I've done it by basically taking the distribution mentality and turning it on its head and saying, you know, we will design the supply chain in a way that takes full advantage of our nearness to the market. We are right in the middle of the richest market in the world right here. And I've taken that, shrunk my supply chain so that we're not bringing product from East Asia or Europe or any place else in the world. We're bringing it from the United States. And that advantage, even with the higher wages and the more scrupulous regard for regulations and the lack of currency manipulation, allowed me to actually compete head-to-head with those other countries in the world. We can make things here in this country, and we need to get back to the point where we understand that we should make things here in the United States, because they provide good jobs and they provide great opportunities for our citizens and for our communities. So we need to do that. The government, I think, working at the margins can help manufacturing come back. We need to, first of all, I need to sell that idea, and I understand that as governor. I can do that, but we can do things. The conventional wisdom is wrong, that stuff has to go overseas. We need to do it right here, and other companies are recognizing that as well. But I think I'm in a good position to actually preach that gospel. In addition to that, throughout my campaign, I talked about doing some specific things, and I don't believe in economic development by the deal. That has been, in some cases, that's the only thing, the only arrow in our quiver, and we need to make deals, and I will continue to want to do that. But that's at the margins. We need to create the environment that is conducive to private sector growth, where entrepreneurs actually come and do the hard and heavy lifting to create the jobs. But at the margins, we can do some things to make their jobs easier. And one of those things I proposed throughout the campaign was a manufacturing jobs initiative. For those companies that actually come to Pennsylvania and create new jobs, like say $1 million worth of new jobs, I want to give them a reward. And so I have proposing $5 million in my budget to make sure we have money to fund a tax credit that will give companies that actually create good family-sustaining jobs with benefits, good manufacturing jobs here in Pennsylvania, and do that over time. I want to have a clawback, so there's some accountability here, because some of our programs in the past have not had that accountability. But if we do it right, if we attract the right companies, I want them to get an extra reward, not just better tax situation, better tax environment. And so $5 million is there to fund a tax credit for that. Next, I'm going to provide $5 million for a new initiative that works on the industrial resource centers, the IRCs. You're familiar with those? They actually were created in the Casey administration as sort of a way of bringing businesses together and make sure that skills, that new ideas are being distributed throughout the economy. I want to make those organizations work better and give them more resources, so I'm proposing $5 million for the IRCs. In conjunction with private sector growth, matching funds, this could actually leverage private sector investment by 3 to 1. So that $5 million could be worth a lot more than that if these industrial resource centers do what we want them to do, to actually generate new ideas and new funds from the private sector. Finally, I want to talk about creating workforce partnerships for economic success. One of the things we have in Pennsylvania is great institutions of higher education. I mean, obviously, you have some great ones right here in the Lehigh Valley, but I knew that would get at least some response. But Pennsylvania, I think, if you take the number of seats in higher education, Pennsylvania ranks second or third in the country in terms of the number of seats. And we certainly have some great institutions. Well, we got to take advantage of it. And too often, the people who come here and impart their wisdom or learn new skills in Pennsylvania, those institutions of higher education, go elsewhere to use them. So, I haven't got a thank you note from places in Texas or Washington State or California. Have you? Thanking us for all the skills we've given the people who actually create great jobs in their states. But that's essentially what we've done. We've imported raw talent, we've exported skills, and sent people off to use the things they learned here in Pennsylvania somewhere else. I want to change that. I'd like to keep people here. I'd like to have them come here and learn good things, and then apply those new skills and talents that they learned here in Pennsylvania to create good jobs and a strong economy, and I think we can do that. I did that, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, I was chairman of the board of York College of Pennsylvania, and when I was there, one of the things I was proudest of was how York College brought different businesses together. We created a mechanical engineering program, and it was to create mechanical engineers and a program that would actually create good graduates. But another goal was to actually bring people who were technicians in manufacturing plants in York County, mainly, to come together and talk to each other. And it became a continuing seminar and continual improvement for manufacturers in York County. And the college was essentially a convener. Since then, the college has done things to actually help monetize good ideas. The coming out of the laboratories into the private sector. We've done things in life sciences with food technology. We can do things like that, taking the raw material we have, the human capital in our universities, and I want to do that. I want to have training programs that make sure that we are creating relevant skills at the primary and secondary level, but I also want to take these ideas that are coming out of our universities and institutions of higher education to make sure that our economy and our businesses are making full use of the great skills we have here in Pennsylvania. So my budget includes an $18 million for programs that will help Pennsylvanians gain targeted job training and new skills necessary to compete in our changing economy. But I also want to have a significant boost in funding of two of Pennsylvania's most successful existing in-demand public post-secondary programs that work to meet the needs of regional and statewide employers. We have WEDNET. I want to increase funding for that. We have the Industry Partnership Program. I want to increase investment in that. But I also want to invest in job-linked literacy programs. Too often literacy is a problem when it comes to just employment. It's a problem with CDL truck drivers. It's a problem with people who want to take entry-level positions. We need to together work on making sure that employees have basic skills they're going to need. We also need to make sure that our, again, K through 12 programs are relevant to the needs of our industry. We do need college graduates. We need people who want to go to college, but we also need people who want to go and be plumbers and technicians and electricians. We need that, and I think we need an education system that recognizes that we need all of those skills. So my budget will propose that we actually do a better job of trying to make our schools, our education system in general, more relevant to the needs of our economy. So in Pennsylvania, what I'm saying is we need to do things differently and look beyond labels. We've got to ask ourselves, is what we're doing, does it make sense? And I think when I look at what we've been doing, from the perspective that many of you have from the private sector, when I look at what we've been doing in the public sector, it hasn't made sense. And so we do have major challenges ahead. I understand that. Pennsylvania has to do a lot of things that we haven't done, but we do have resources here to do some great things. It's time for pragmatism. I think we've had enough ideology out there. I'm not an ideologue, and I think we need I certainly have in the private sector. When I was running a business, I didn't ask whether a solution I was trying to promote was a Republican or a Democratic idea. The question was, would it work? And I think we have to do that here in government, and that's what I want to do. I think good experience reinventing my company. I'm very proud of what I did to bring my company back in the worst building products recession in the history of the world. And I know we can do the same thing here. We can turn Pennsylvania around. This is not a business, or it has not been, in my estimation, a real business-friendly state. Although I got to say that, you know, we do sort of badmouth ourselves a little bit too much. I did build a business twice here in Pennsylvania, located, headquartered in York, and done quite well working out of Pennsylvania. So we have improvements we can make, but let's not lose sight of the fact that this is a pretty good place to do business even right now. Anyway, I reinvented my company in the depths of the recession. I know we can do that here in Pennsylvania. We do have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do, but I don't plan to pursue the betterment of our economy, of our schools, of our communities, and our government in a vacuum. And I don't intend to do it at a snail's pace. We know what we have to do. Let's just get to it. Let's start working and get this over and done with. And let's make Pennsylvania everything that we know it can be. The great place, the great Commonwealth, great place that we can build businesses, attract people to Pennsylvania, get my daughters back. That's what I want to do. And I really appreciate your giving me listening to what I want to do in my budget address. So thank you very much for having me.